JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 10th of December 2021. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's morning session where we're going to have a very quick look at the markets, view the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation. Should not be considered as such and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, as always, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which is also updated on a daily basis. So yep, check it out here on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. So now then, let's jump into the charts. So the first one I want to pick up here is, as always, Nikkei 225. So we saw a bit of a retreat here, and but to be honest, everything's still kind of okay, I would say, because although we dropped below this hurdle, the one that I talked about yesterday, the 28,581 zone, to be honest, let's see if this 200-day EMA will provide support. This is kind of, in a way, my last resort here, because if it drops below this and stays below that 200-day EMA, then yeah, well, I mean, we could see maybe a drift back down towards this upside support line taken from the low of the 20th of August. Or in other words, the lower side of the potential symmetrical triangle here. Now, at the moment, I'll take a bit of a neutral stand, probably, just to see how this is going to play out. Also, I'm going to recycle this line here, and I'm going to mark the current, well, actually the highest point of this week, because the index is already finished for the week. Yeah, let's see how this is going to play out going into next week. One thing, like I said, one thing you can keep an eye on is, of course, is the high of this week near the 28,908 zone. That ice could pop above it, may open the door towards some higher levels, guys. So keep that in mind. Now, in terms of the other index here, Shanghai Composite. So yesterday I talked about this level here, this hurdle, this 3,678 zone, which did provide a good hold up. Although yes, we did kind of overshoot it initially, but yeah, it came back quickly below it. The bulls kind of were pushed away here a little bit, and yep, the bears managed to drag this one a little bit to the downside. However, for now, I would say this way: as long as this barrier continues to provide a resistance, then maybe we could see a bit of a retracement back down here and towards this upside line. So in other words, we could consider maybe a bit of a correction here before another possible leg of buying. However, that's like I said, for me, that's going to be all will depend, of course, on this barrier. If we do pop above it and stay above it, then well, there is a greater chance maybe for this one to move higher. However, let's like I said, let's not rush into anything. I mean, this is it's the last kind of trading day of this week for the Shanghai Composite. I think we still have around 15 minutes left. Or let me just bear with me one moment, guys. I think it's closed already because I always once the time changed, I kind of keep getting this wrong all the time. So yeah, it's closed already. So we've closed the week below this hurdle, and yep, for now, like I said, for now that's the game plan. To be honest, I mean, I'm going to keep an eye on this barrier. Also, I'm going to keep an eye on the European indices today and the US ones. If those pop higher, maybe the cash index on the Shanghai Composite could also straight away overcome this barrier next weekend and just maybe start off the week above this hurdle. If so, then yep, my next target is the highest point of September. Yep, Evu, I can see you in the chat room. Good morning to you too. Good morning to everybody else who's joining in. And yeah, thank you very much, Evu. I hope the sound is now a little bit better. Coming back to the indices, DAX, the German index, we drifted lower yesterday, and we saw a nice little corrective move, to the downside, but we remained above the 100-day EMA, although we did drift below this 121-day, but the 100-day EMA somehow did its job and provided a good hold up. Now, in terms of the cash index, for example, right now we can see that the cash index is trading at around 15,550 zone. So basically, we're somewhere around here, near this hurdle, the one that I talked about, near which I looked at as my previous, kind of barrier here for the upside. Let's see if this is well, let's see how this is going to play out today, because if it's going to stay still somewhere above this 15,540 territory, if it's going to continue to trade, then it will be quite interesting to see how next week is going to start, because maybe we could see a nice good push back up. So we have the so-called the falling three here method. Could have, I mean, I'm getting to the same patterns again, but yeah, like I said, I do like to look at those. Sometimes they do sometimes work out, but again, let's see how this is going to play out. Like I said, if it's going to stay somewhere above this 15,540 territory, then, well, we still could have this chance of seeing a nice, good, strong reversal back to the upside here, and then yeah, we'll go from there. If it starts falling further and falls somewhere below, well, actually this is where I need to, I think, adjust a few levels here. So for example, this one here, the 15,423, approximately around here, a nice drop below this may lead to a maybe a larger correction here towards the downside, just because the reason why I'm saying correction, because we're still trading above this upside line taken from the low of the 11th of December, and let's say overall, if we continue to trade above it, then still, yes, I mean, the trend is still to the upside overall, but from the very short-term perspective, yeah, we could see these little corrective moves. However, again, let's get back to the first point. Basically, for now, as long as the index remains somewhere around here, I mean, I'm still gonna remain kind of bullish, but if it starts falling somewhere below this 15,423 territory right here, marked by the inside swing high of the 3rd of December, then I'll caution myself a little bit. Maybe, like I said, we could see a bit of a larger correction to the downside. However, if we were looking for some larger extensions to the downside, then, well, I mean, of course, a break below this upside line, taken from the low of the 11th of December, and a drop below that 200-day EMA would be needed. Now jumping into Dow Jones Industrial Average, I talked about this one this week, and yep, so far so good for the bulls, because we continue to trade above this downside line, which we managed to break. However, the little issue is this barrier right here, roughly around the 35,892, 93. You can see that it's kind of this whole area, I would say. You can see that it kind of continues to provide resistance. Let me just quickly have a look at the cash index. Yeah, the cash index is currently sitting at around 35,746, 45 zone. So basically, roughly where it ended the trading session yesterday. So it's going to be quite interesting to see if we can actually overcome this barrier, and if this one right here, if we can, then, well, I'll aim for some higher levels, and in particular the current all-time high near the 36,000, just 36,565 65.66 approximately around here, then yeah, we will take it from there. But again, as I said, if you're looking for some upside, then at least wait for at least a push for above this barrier right here. But even so, I mean, as always, guys, be careful. I mean, it could have a nice, good, strong break above it, but you know, by the end of the day, it could reverse back down and drop below that hurdle. So that's why always have your stop loss in place and adjust your risks accordingly. Now, in terms of the downside, now again, this is where the tricky bit here is. I mean, of course, I'm keeping an eye on some of these tentative upside lines that got violated recently. I mean, if it falls somewhere below this hurdle, this 35,444, 42 zone right here, or actually even let me just adjust this a little bit. I think this is where I need to put it. And yep, there we go. I think this is the area roughly around the 35,367 zone, so approximately around here. You can see that it coincides with the 21-day EMA as well, and also if we drop below this hurdle, then well, we would be placed below this upside line, one of the tentative ones taken from the low, the 30th of October of 2020, and then potentially maybe yeah, a few more sellers could join in. Now the dollar index DXY, so it's for now it's just kind of moving sideways, still above the 21-day EMA, so that's a positive sign. However, below this downside line taken from the high of the 24th of November. So again, if you're looking for some reassurance, maybe then well, at least wait for a break of this downside line, because for now, I mean, it just could move sideways here, move in between these two lines here, the two tentative trend lines. So yeah, I mean, all this area for me here is kind of neutral, and to be honest, I'm just going to continue observing the price action. In terms of the downside, I would prefer maybe at least for a break of this upside line taken from the low of the 29th of October, and then yep, so I'll take it from there. Now jumping into silver. So yesterday we saw a bit of a decline here, and yep, we broke this upside line taken from the low of the 3rd of December. Just bear with me one moment, guys. So we broke this upside line, and most importantly, we also fell below that 22 territory as well, and we continue to trade below it. So this, of course, doesn't paint a very positive picture, at least in the short run. Well, if we do stay below this 22 territory, then my next target will be this 21,400 and 21.43 level here, marked by the lowest point of September, and then yeah, we will take it from there. With the upside, well, it's a little bit tricky here. I mean, I do understand we could be missing out on a bit of territory here, but let's say if we do climb back and stay above this 22 zone, maybe we could consider maybe a larger correction to the upside, and then of course we'll need to keep an eye on this little short-term tentative downside line taken from the high of the 16th of November, which if it continues to provide resistance, then yes, I mean, it could kind of still show the direction. I mean, we could see a hold up here and another slide, but again, let's if we do get to this point, then I'll reevaluate everything again. But for now, to be honest, looking at this picture at this point in time, it doesn't look very very positive. As long as it stays excuse me, below the 22 zone, then yes, I'll continue aiming lower. Yep, good morning to Dionysus. Yep, you can see there in the chat room. So yep, I hope you're also having a wonderful start of Friday. Yep, coming back to the instruments here. So Wti Oil. So look at this, could hold up near this downside line. So this is what I talked about. Previously in my previous video, where I said that if this downside line continues to hold, then yes, we might see a nice little retracement here back down. However, I would prefer to wait maybe for a drop somewhere below this hurdle, which is around the 69.47 level, and that's marked by the inside swing high of the 1st of December. and it also at the same time it also coincides with the 200-day EMA. So for now, like I said, I'm just going to observe this one because it's way too kind of close. I mean, it could still reverse back to the upside, break this downside line and push higher, but I would rather maybe stick to this 73.11 approximately around here level, and then yep, go for the upside if we see that break here. Now jumping into Ripple very quickly. So again, also a nice good hold up near this downside line. So talked about this one yesterday. Just wanted to quickly recap on this one. So yeah, we're struggling to overcome this downside line taken from the high of the 10th of November, and yes, of course, it increases the chances for a further maybe move lower. However, I would prefer to wait for a drop below this 0.75 territory, approximately around here, just to be a little bit more on the safe side, because again, it could drift a little bit lower, it could start moving sideways here a little bit, and then maybe we could see a break of this downside line. But for now, from the technical side, yeah, it's yes, we're leaning of course more towards the downside. However, certain confirmation breaks are still needed. So yeah, for me, like I said, I do understand we could be missing out on a bit of territory here, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. If you're looking for some maybe short-term, then of course you could keep an eye on something like here, the level here near the 0.8044, marked near the lows of the 7th and the 8th of December. So if we drop below this, then yes, we could see maybe a nice good spike here to the downside, or spike, well, a drop to the downside. But still, as always, guys, in such scenarios, in such kind of close territories, or so to say, kind of unsure territories, always have your stop loss in place just in case it suddenly reverses. I mean, it could go in your direction initially, but as you know, I mean, you trade yourselves, guys. So once, let's say, if it breaks out and goes in your favor, let's say once you're in profit, maybe good practice is to at least kind of put a breakdown, like a break even, a stop loss on a break even level. So just to kind of protect yourself in case this reverses suddenly against you. So I do understand it's going to be frustrating sometimes. You could miss out on a profit, but at least you don't lose. EUD and ZD, jumping into a few pairs, and look at this. I mean, yesterday, and actually I kept talking about this pair this week. This downside line taken from the high of the 29th of March continued to provide strong resistance, and this is one of my favorite pairs to look at because again, it's very technical. It's very probably because it's kind of I keep getting some of it right on this pair, but okay, there's always there's always a bad side on it as well. But anyway, let's not talk about that. For now, looking at this picture, yes, I mean it's very, very tempting to go for the upside because again, you can see that we initially today, this morning, during the early hours of the Asian morning, we drifted lower and we found support near this hurdle, the one that I talked about. This is 1.05 territory, and look at this. I mean, just everything was just perfect, and we had a nice little reversal here, and now we're pushing towards, or I would say we already pushed towards the current highest point of this week near the 1.0537. Of course, if we do see a nice good pop above it, then yes, we could go for some higher levels. Here, the only thing is that I've mentioned to you yesterday that let's see. I mean, I'm not saying that this is going to be the case, but just for the sake of it, let's keep an eye. Let's see if this is not going to end up being like a rising channel. If it is, then we could see a nice push higher. We could see maybe a push and a test of this upside, this upper side of the rising channel, and then let's say if it finds it difficult to overcome it, we could see maybe a drift back down. The only thing is here is that why I'm considering such a scenario as well, because we kind of already did have a nice decent up move here this week. So, and again, we do know that sometimes in the market these things happen, and a lot of probably traders will be jumping in here, pushing higher, and this is where the point, like I said, where you need to kind of at least have your, a stop loss on a break even in case it kind of looks like you're in profit. Just yeah, as always put it, because what could happen here is that we could see a nice push, a spike higher here, a test of this upper side, and then by the end of the day, for example, it could still drift back down and even fall below this downside line again, and well, we're kind of back to square one in that case. So long story short, be careful, and like I said, have your stop loss in place. USD JPY, so this one's quite interesting because, again, overall, of course, you can see that it's still trading above this upside line, so the overall trend is still to the upside, but at the moment we're kind of struggling with some of these levels, and one of these levels is this 113.93 zone. I talked about this one, and and yeah, and we're also struggling with this 21-day EMA as well, although we keep overshooting it, but by the end of the day, we still drift back below it, and yeah, we stay below it. So if you're looking for some downside, yes, there's one of the indications that maybe the pair is struggling with that 21-day EMA. We could see maybe the sellers coming in. However, I would rather be on the safe side a little bit and stick to this 112.73 territory right here, which, as you can see, acted as a fantastic area of support recently. So if that gets broken, then yep, a larger correction to the downside could be possible. For the upside, I would need to see a push above this 113.93 territory, and then yeah, we could go for some higher levels. And this is where I'll adjust this level a little bit. This is what I'm going to be aiming for, this 115.24 zone. Now, Gbp Usd. Oh, by the way, I think we did get some data right now. So, yep, from UK. So we did get the GDP numbers here. Some manufacturing and industrial production numbers from UK. Basically, you can check out the calendar for that. And but let's say, generally speaking, everything's in red. So yeah, not very good here for the British economy. However, let's see what's the picture here on Gbp Usd. Looking at this from the technical perspective, yes, we're still trading below this downside line taken from the high of the 28th of October, approximately from there. If it continues to hold, certainly yes, the path could hold towards the downside still, and we could see a further decline. However, if we're looking for some maybe levels, now we talked about this 1.3188 zone right here. To be honest, we did have a violation of that level a few times, so but it continues somehow to provide a hold up. If we do get another drop below this, then yes, I'll aim for my next target near the 1.3135 zone, marked by the low of the lowest point of December of 2020. For the upside, now this is where I need to adjust a few things. There we go. So let me just grab this level. So for the upside, I would rather maybe stick to this little hurdle right here. This 1.3262, as you can see here, it's the low of the 1st of December, but recently we did have like a few pushes back above it after we fell below it. We had a few pushes back that still it kind of provided that good hold up. So even though if we break this downside line, still I would prefer to wait for a push above the 1.3262 zone right here, just to be a little bit more on the safe side. Let me just put the arrow here very quickly, and then yes, we could, like I said, we could take it from there. So like I said, I'd rather be a little bit on the safer side, and yeah, we could go from there. Like I said, we need to wait for that confirmation break through one of our levels. And for me, like I said, for the downside, I'm looking at this 1.3188, and for the upside, 1.3262. Quick update on Eurogbp. So haven't looked at this one for quite a while, but yeah, basically we're still trading above this. Above this downside line. It's kind of providing good support right now. Yep, I would say for now everything's still. I'm cautiously bullish on this one. However, because it's Eurogbp we're talking about, it sometimes has a life of its own. To be honest, I mean, it's not sometimes. Although you think that it's very technical, but actually it's not. So be very careful with this pair. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it has somehow a life of its own. So. I would say, yeah, we could keep an eye on some of the trend lines here. I mean, but probably, again, stick to some of the breakout points, some of the levels. So for example, if you're looking for some downside on this one, then, well, maybe a drop below this 0.84 and 19 territory could do the trick for a few more sellers, because at the same time, we would already be placed below all of the EMAs on our daily chart. And for the upside, a push above this 0.8595 level right here, marked by the the current highest point of this week, because again, anything could happen still. We have the last trading day for this week, so yeah, like that's what I'm saying, the current highest point of this week. If we get a pop above it, then, and we stay above it, then yes, my next target will be the highest point of September. So yeah, this one's, like I said, with the Eurogbp especially, you need to have those stop losses in place, just because again, it might be sometimes very frustrating, and it can be very choppy, as you can see here, for example. EUROCAD, very quickly on this one before I run out of time. So to be honest, not much is happening. Just what you can see here is that we continue to oscillate around the 21-day EMA overall. So I can get rid of these symmetrical triangle ideas, because I think that no longer that's going to be valid, and I'd rather stick to some of the levels instead. But my only little issue, like I said, right now is the fact that it's oscillating around that 21-day EMA, and not like by, let's say, small amplitude here, with quite a decent one. So it goes higher a lot, it moves away a lot from that 21-day EMA, but then reverses back down and drops below a lot below the 21-day EMA, and then kind of comes back. So like I said, the amplitude is very wide and very big, and so for now, again, I would say be careful here. I mean, if you're very cautious on this one, then I mean, the easier ways to kind of try and trade this one is to keep an eye on, for example, this current highest point of December near the 1.4554 zone. A nice good pop above it, may place the index kind of may open the door towards some higher levels. For the downside, a drop below this 1.4111 zone could do the trick for a few more sellers. And finally, EURUSD. Again, similar story. I mean, but here the issue here is the 21-day EMA, which continues to act as a strong area of resistance. So as you can see here, we keep testing it, but we're struggling to overcome and stay above it. But I can't say that we're bearish, because since it kind of reversed on at the end of November, the pair started forming these higher lows. So that's why for now, like I said, we'll just keep an eye on this one, and I'll stick to the same levels: the 1.1235 zone for the downside and the 1.1374 for the upside. So guys, I'll have to wrap it up here. I do apologize for rushing through this a little bit, but I'm kind of forgot about the time a little bit. But yeah, thank you very much for joining in. I really appreciate you guys joining in this whole week. I hope you'll join me next week as well. But yeah, have a wonderful trading day today. Stay safe, and a wonderful weekend as well. So thank you very much, and bye bye.